Hello YouTube, this is William. I'm getting ready to ship some production field lures and a couple of Alaskan survival knives to Great Northern Knives so that they can put handles on them for you guys. And just to let you know, Great Northern Knives only sets the handles on those that's sold through his website, okay? So if there's any issues with the handles that you buy from Great Northern, then please get with them and give them the opportunity to correct it. That way they know what they need to tweak and adjust on their process, okay? So, but anyway, if for some reason you're not satisfied with what they tell you, then please by all means contact me. But give Great Northern Knives the first opportunity, if you would please. All right. Okay. So you bought a WC knife, and I thought maybe I would do. I'm getting a lot of new customers, so I thought maybe I would do a what's next, if you will, on your WC knife. What makes WC knives unique? I've done a lot of videos on that. This is not a standard mass-produced knife, okay? These do not go into CNC machines and come out the other end of an assembly line with perfect and precise identical grinds and handle shapes and all this other stuff. Every knife, and you will get a letter like this, or you should, with every knife that you purchase from either me or the dealer, okay? That it kind of goes through saying thank you for one thing, because without you, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it forever, without you, WC Knives would not exist. I would be making knives, but as a business, WC Knives LLC would not exist. So I appreciate each and every one of you for giving WC Knives the chance. And I will say this, 99% or somewhere along in there of the customers who try a WC knife, it will not be their last one, okay? Because my business is, for the most part, repeat customers. I have some customers that will buy every model that I come up with, okay, or come out with. So anyway, let's talk about the knife and the uniqueness. For one thing, I do a lot of compound grinds. Every once in a blue moon, you might see one that has a standard grind on it. But even that standard grind, the cutting edge is about 13 degrees. So these work sharps that has got set angles will not work, okay? Their angles are not set up. I think this one is, the shallowest it will go is maybe 15. So what you're doing is you're changing the bevel to a 15-degree bevel. Now, if that's what you want, then by all means, Work Sharp is a great product, okay? I use a Work Sharp, the ceramic rod, a lot. I use just a clean leather piece on a wood to just clean the edge. I also use this a lot. Now, I don't know what these are named. I don't get into all that stuff, folks. I'm sorry. But if you go to Amazon, just pull up Work Sharp, you'll see all these. There's also another field sharpener that has a buffing compound on it. It has 2 or 3 different grits, and it also has a ceramic rod on it, all in one neat, convenient package. And I've used that a lot. But again, the guides, see this one is 17. The guides are not going to work for my bevels, all right? So you have to do it by hand. So anyway, when you get a WC knife, you're going to have to learn how to sharpen it. And people will look at this grind. This is a fire and bone. That blade got a little narrow right there. So we're going to sell it as a one-of in a sale here soon, probably in a few weeks. But anyway, stay tuned to this channel so you can get a heads up on that sale coming up. But anyway, this right here just, it freaks people out because they think that it's two different grinds there. It's not. It's just one simple grind. And even on a bench stone, and let me just kind of move the camera down here, shake you up. Even on a bench stone, all you have to do is just lay it on, I can get it here, lay it on the sharpening stone. I'm sorry, folks. I should have been better prepared. I'm just not, I don't have a studio, okay? This is a shop, not a studio. All right, so you just lay it on the stone and you find that bevel, okay? So that's the bevel of the Scandi, okay? And you just follow the curve all right there up to that tooth. All right. And if you're not sure you're hitting the proper angle, then you can take a marker and mark this, black it in so you can see if you're hitting, and just use this very edge part of your stone, okay? And I recommend diamond stones because natural materials will wear and it will not give you a true flat grind. You see the shiny part there that shows you that you're hitting that bevel, okay? Up to this tooth right here. Okay, now that you got that sharp, then you can go to this part, okay? Just find that bevel again. And you're wanting this edge to maintain the same angle. So you're going to have to lift up the butt of the knife. Okay, see how I'm lifting it up to make sure that it follows the same bevel? Then back the other way. It is very intuitive. It just takes maybe a few strokes and it just kind of tells you what it wants, okay? That's very sharp. But again, up to the tooth, up to the tooth, up to the tooth, up to the tooth, okay? Then come back and do the next part. That way you're maintaining that tooth. Now, since this is the same angle and all you're doing is just kind of realigning that very edge part, then when you're using a ceramic rod, you can go all the way through. It's the same angle, okay? Hear that? And I just take a clean piece of leather. It's black because it's just been used so many times. And I just clean the edge. And what you're doing is you're laying the blade on that angle and just a straight stroke with the same angle. Don't rotate the knife. If you rotate the knife, then you're going to take the edge back off. So pick it straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up, okay? Now that's a sharp knife, okay? See, I just, all right, that is how easy it is to sharpen. All right, again, this is a 13-degree angle on this side and a 13-degree angle on this side. It doesn't matter if it's a Scandi, if it's a saber, if it's a full flat, the cutting edge is always 13 degrees on either side, okay? These, do not use the guides because it'll change that bevel to whatever the guide says, all right? I find that a 13-degree angle works best for me. All right, so that's what I make. So that's the sharpening part. And again, I've said this in many videos, I do not like a high polished edge 99% of the time. Now on carving tools, that's a totally different story. Carving tools, I want that edge to where when I touch wood with it, I want it to cut, but it will not last as long as a coarser edge. Now I'm not talking serrations, okay? People get that confused. I'm talking about a microscopic teeth on the edge to where one microscopic tooth protects the next one, okay? It'll last longer than a polished edge. A polished edge is just smooth all the way down. You can take a polished edge and lay it on something without pressure and just slide it and will not cut. But when you take a toothy edge and lay it on something and pull it back, it's gonna slice, okay? That's what I like because it lasts longer, all right? And also, when you're touching yourself, you know how sharp this knife is. When you bump yourself, it will not cut, okay? But you take a high polished edge and you bump your finger with it and it will slice you, okay? So to me, a toothy edge or a more coarser edge is safer. It's lasts longer. It cuts better. It's just a better all-around edge for a multi-use knife or a general use knife. Now, again, when you get into wood carving and things like that, then you're wanting a high polished edge because you're wanting those very precise precision cuts. When you touch the wood, you want it to slice immediately, okay? So that's a polished edge for that. Green working uses and things like that would work. Then a toothy edge or a polished edge works great. Now, if you're just going to use the knife to do feather sticks, then you may want a little polished edge. But again, when you're doing feathers, and I ain't got no steak. We'll use this. When you're doing feathers, you're sliding the knife, so it's actually that toothy part is still working for you. So you can still have your general purpose knife with that slightly toothy edge, microscopic teeth, folks, that will help you last longer in feathers, okay? So anyway, for general purpose, I like a more coarser edge, a toothier edge than a polished edge. But all of my wood carving tools is in a separate roll, and they're high polished, all right? So different purpose, a different sharpening method, if you will, all right? Okay, I think that covers sharpening, and I have all kinds of videos on sharpening. Diamond rods are fantastic on all of the metals that I use, and I typically, the metal is gonna be listed on the back. This is AEBL. If you have an older model, it has a Texas, if it has a letter inside the Texas stamp, then that letter indicates what type of steel it is. N is for Nitro V, E is for AEBL, V is 3V, and that Texas stamp was only used for about a 13-month time frame, all right? So if you get one of those are highly collectible. But anyway, so I think we covered the sharpening aspect of it. These bevels, I am not a proponent of batoning. There's some of the larger knives are survival knives, and a lot of the heavier blades, you can baton with them. But I have a video on batoning, the good, the bad, the ugly, explains all of this. So I think batoning is a cautionary tale. You're really rolling the dice every time you baton a knife. Will some knives handle it longer than others? Yes. I use Rockwells that are 60 plus, all right? Even on the tool steels, the old one, tool steels, I'm pushing 60 because I like that longer edge retention. Now, I design knives to cut, to slice, I don't design knives to use as a go out and build a cabin. All right. I have hatchets and axes and saws for that. Okay. So you want the one tool option is, to me, it's a misnomer. You know, it depends on what task you're doing if that's a one tool option or not. Now, if you're going to take a belt knife, a 7 or 8 inch belt knife, and go out and live in the wilderness, you better have a good set of skills. All right. So, you know, that one tool option has, you got to know how to use it, folks. So anyway, I think that people, that could get some people hurt, or if not worse. So anyway, all right. Let's talk about handles. I use a lot of micarta, some Sure Touch. I'm trying to get away from Sure Touch. Sure Touch has just got to where it's just astronomical in price. It's hard to work. It's just for kitchen use, yeah, and game processing. I think it's a great handle material, but again, I think that it's priced now to where it's just not. It's not worth the money, to be honest with you. But anyway, you can, and I did a video on how I do handles as far as the preparing them with texture and all this other stuff. I like a texture handle so that I get a grip on it. A safe knife is one that you control, and a grip is part of that control, not only in contours, but also texture of the handles. So I like a micarta that's got a little bit of texture to it, but after you use micarta for a while, it's going to polish. So you're going to have to take some sandpaper, and at the highest sandpaper level I would use is 80. A 40 is really great because it raises those fibers up and you get a very coarse texture on that handle. And then once you do that and get it to where it's to your liking, then just warm it up by a fire or over a heat gun or something. You don't want it hot, you just want it warm. So then put a coat of oil on there. I use teak oil, which is a high penetrating oil, and you can get that at Lowe's or Home Depot or just about any hardware store in the paint department. Okay, or you can order it off of Amazon if you like. So, and again, you know, you just, if there's a handle that there's a hot spot in it for you, you know, I try to design handles to where they're going to fit the majority of people, but you can't do 100% all the time. It's just not going to happen. And a lot of times when we do thumb scallops, there's little sharp edges here and there that you're gonna have to take off because of the way you grip the knife. It's just not as comfortable as the way somebody else would. So you may have to round those corners off a little bit once you did it to where it fits your hand and the way you grip a knife. Then just follow that procedure. Just take some rough sandpaper. If it's micarta, 40 grit or 80 grit at the most, round those off and then warm the handle back up. Put a little bit of oil on it and wipe it down. Okay, so that's all you need to do. I like the that material because it's user friendly. You can kind of shape it a little bit to fit your own personal use. All right. For Sure Touch, you know, you want a little bit of polish there for the G10. So, you know, a 120 is probably as high as I would go on Sure Touch, but it's the same process. It's just a different grit on the sandpaper. And wood, again, you can change wood if you like, but you're gonna have to really do some high polishing on it, get some finer steel wool and things like that, and polish it out before you put the oil on it. Okay. But anyway, that's the handle. I think, and all of my spines are 90-degree spines. I use a lot of AEBL and a lot of Nitro V and a lot of, well, that's probably the primary steels that I use. I use some 01 in the WCSK. Every once in a while I'll drift off into some of the CPM steels. MagnaCut is something that's very popular right now. I've got some specialty knives that's being offered in Magna Cut coming up pretty quick. So just subscribe to this channel so that you can keep updated and click the little bell of when these sales happen. And folks, these sales, they gone quick. So you need to be on your toes and on your game to get one of these knives if they continue the way they have in the past. It's not whoever puts the knife in their cart first, it's whoever pays first. So when you put something in the cart, there may be 4 or 5 others that has it in their cart too. So it's whoever credit card goes through the fastest. So it depends on internet speed. It depends on if you got all your information and you're already uploaded onto my website as far as a subscription or what do they call it? Registering, I think is what they call it. So that all your information is already there. So you just hit buy, and it's very quick that way. So you're a little bit ahead of the guy that doesn't have their information already uploaded in the registration part of the website. And I don't see that. The only one that will see that is some hacker in China. And I don't think we're at that level yet where somebody is worried about what we're doing over here to hack my website. But anyway, I think that kind of touches on everything that that WC Knives is about. Again, my angles, my Rockwell hardness, for the most part, is a little bit higher than what the industry standard is because I like the edge retention. The edges are finer, they cut better, they slice better, and so, but they're not pry bars. They're not something that you want to just beat on. Now, again, some of the thicker blades will handle it as long as you're reasonable. I mean, that's a key component. I depend on the customer to use common sense, folks. Just use common sense. Now, you don't want to take an 1/8 inch small blade and go out there and try to split a 4-inch log that has knots and twisted grain and all this other stuff in it that's highly seasoned oak or something. I mean, just use common sense. This is, you know, I've seen some things on YouTube that I just have to shake my head. I don't understand the mentality of that. I really don't. And somebody, you know, they'll take a small belt knife and try to split a 4-inch log with it, and if it breaks, they think the knife is bad. No, you hope you use the knife. You know, it's one of those things. And a lot of times, what will happen is, over time, this right here, because it's a very fine edge, then it'll crack and it'll work through the blade. So, I mean, the failure may have happened several months ago, and it just took that long for the crack to work through the blade. So, you know. Anyway, I talk about that in the Batoning video, and I think there's a follow-up about Batoning follow-up or something like that. But anyway, I covered all that stuff. There's, I think, I don't know, 500-600 videos on this channel. And if you go to my homepage, there's a playlist. You can see the R&D process on these knives, and we abused them. There's no question about it. We abused them. And so I think it's the best knife on the market, folks, or I wouldn't put it on for sale. It's knives that I use. It's every day. It may be a different model, but it's this grind concept of a compound grind is what I use every day. And so, thank you for your purchase, your support. You guys are fantabulous. What else can I say? This is already pushing about 25-minute video. I didn't want it to be that long, but I wanted to give you guys kind of a thought process behind it and say thank you for your purchase, and kind of touch on some things that is unique to WC Knives. And again, I've got several of the Work Sharp products. The quality of the products is great. It's the angles that I have an issue with because they don't go anything less than 17 degrees. And a lot of that is because people go out there and they beat on their knives, and they know that the general public or general knife makers out there, they put more of an obtuse angle to try to idiot-proof, I don't know what else to say, idiot-proof their knives, because the folks out there on the YouTube that just beat on them, you know, what can I say? I've put out thousands of blades in the last 12 years. I think I've replaced a handful, maybe 5. And, you know, it's one of those things to where, yeah, they were abused, but hey, you know, again, I stand by my product. All I can do is educate and ask you to be responsible. And so, but out of the thousands, you know, I think there's been like 5 or 6 that I've had to replace because of batoning. And that's the only reason I've had to replace it, because it failed during batoning. And most of the time they've had the knife several years, and it just took that long for that slight crack to work through the blade. That's just how it happens. It's going to find a weak spot. Those vibrations and harmonics in that steel will find a weak spot eventually. You may get away with it for 10 years. You may get away with it with 20. But at some point, you keep on beating on it, it will fail. All right, and in most cases, it'll fail when you need it the most. So be smart. People say, I don't want to take the weight. Well, get you a tomahawk. I mean, a tomahawk don't weigh any more than this. All right? There's always a tool that is provided for you to do that stuff. All right? It's just a matter of mindset. That's all it is. Some people think that they do it because they enjoy it. Well, I never understood enjoying beating on a knife, but hey, get you a cheap one at Walmart and beat away, all right? So anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I watched some videos this morning, and it's sickening to watch people claim that they're testing blades. They're not testing blades, folks. That's not how a knife is tested. A knife that's tested is used on a daily basis every day for what it's designed for. Slicing, cutting, preparing game, kitchen prep, things like that. That's how you test a knife. Not going out there and taking a fillet knife and trying to baton with it. All right? That's just asinine. So anyway, thanks again. You guys are awesome. And until the next one, you guys get in the backyard, whittle on a stick. Be sure and take a child with you, get the opportunity. And don't forget those plenty of Band-Aids and lots of knives. And welcome to the WC family.